Ariana Grande Frappuccino, who is getting dragged for her recent comment in regards of who her dream dinner date is, and it's none other than serial killer and cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer. So they said when you think about your dream dinner guest, you might imagine an icon, a late family member, or a historical figure. But for Ariana Grande Frappuccino, it's Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, during a recent episode of Pod Crush, the pop star who's 30 opened up about the time she told a fan that her dream dinner date was with serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. Saying, I was infatuated with serial killers when I was younger, Grande told podcast co-host Penn Badgley, Nava Kevlin, and Sophie Ansari. Is she related to Aziz? The subject came up when she was, or married to Aziz. So the subject came up when she was in a Q&A with young fans, saying it was in between me being Cat in Nickelodeon Sam and Cat and pop stuff. So it was like a younger group, and they were with parents, and someone said, if you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would it be? She recalled. Grande continued, I was like, oh, you're so cute. Mom and Dad, is it okay if I give the real answer? And they were like, sure, what's the answer? And I was like, I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer is pretty fascinating. I think I would have loved to have met him, maybe with a third party or someone involved, but I have questions. Now, Grande's choice of dinner guests ultimately made the podcast host laugh, but her answer upset fans' parents in the room. The parents were like, well, we'll explain it later, sweetie. And I was like, I'll just sing Problem and go home, the position's musician recalled. While Sophie and Nava laughed, people online didn't find it funny, saying, we are not joking about a serial killer who murdered with impunity because the police did not care about black men and gay men. Kindly fuck off, one Redditor wrote. Unless the question is, which serial killer would you have dinner with and you got a gun to your head, there's no damn reason to say this, another commented in part. Someone else said Ariana's comments are vile and horribly offensive to the families of Dahmer's victims. Saying, it's so vile, they wrote, I have a great interest in crime cases, but the last thing I'd want to do is have dinner with a serial killer. Jeffrey Dahmer was a pedophile who murdered innocent people, mainly people of color, because he knew police wouldn't take their disappearances as seriously. Jokingly about wanting to have dinner with him is sick and horribly offensive to the victims' families who are still alive and affected by the tragedy. FYI, let's stop glorifying these psychos and pretending they are insane, intensely enamoring people. They're not, and if you met them in real life, you quickly realize why. And look, the closest that she never got the opportunity because, I guess he died before we even knew who Ariana Grande was because, he went to jail after all them years of getting away with what he did. But the reality is, it's like, look, the closest she got to Jeffrey Dahmer was doing the music video with, for We Can't Be Friends with Evan Peters. So there's that. Now, let's get into what Miss Ariana said. I get it because here's the thing. Like her, I'm also into a lot of true crime stuff. I watch a lot of documentaries and stuff on serial killers. I was irritated by that American Crime Jeffrey Dahmer shit that they put on Netflix because Ryan Murphy was behind it. And to me, I hate when y'all be out here trying to put like this whole little fantasy thing around something that happened in real life. I do like the idea that you brought something to the table in regards of this white man who literally put himself in a neighborhood, an urban neighborhood, and sought out gay men of color to kill. You went and encountered them, killed them, put them in like these containers, cooked them and ate them, and like all the things he did to people of color. I'm pissed off about that. Don't get me wrong. However, I am fascinated by that stuff because I'm someone who's inquisitive. I'm always wanting to learn about why people do what they do. Why did you go and commit these crimes? So I would want to pick your brain in regards to that. And we see many interviews where I feel like you would never get that from Jeffrey Dahmer because Jeffrey Dahmer is someone who is charismatic and wasn't always 110% truthful in a lot of the interviews that he's done. If you watch a lot of those American crime documentaries and things of that nature, you watch clips of Jeffrey Dahmer being interviewed, he has not always been truthful in a lot of situations. We got a lot of the tea from the people who were victimized. There was a survivor and things of that nature, and from people who have encountered him would tell those stories. So I get that. But here's the thing. This is like when we had a conversation the other day when it comes to certain situations where it's like, this is something you should have kept this to yourself. This is kitchen table talk. You shouldn't have brought this up because I'm sure you thought it was cute and funny when you thought about it, you said it. But yeah, this is going to rub people the wrong way because there's going to be people who are going to be like, oh God, now she's out here saying stuff. And people are going to go in on Ariana because some of the stuff that she's done in the past. Not closing her legs to married men. When she got in a relationship with Big Sean, allegedly he was in a relationship with another woman. This recent one where she dating this guy from Wicked while he was married and she was married. Now her ex-husband with Micah Monroe. Shout out to her. She's the new Scream Queen up and coming. And Ariana's who she with. So yeah, while I said like I'm fascinated by stuff on the I love the ID channel and we talk about like American crime stuff and I'm fascinated with all of that. I just don't like when y'all be trying to change the narrative in these little biopics or these um shows or whatever the case is, like what Ryan Murphy be doing, where he tries to mix in real life serial killers into a lot of his little fantasy storytelling. That I don't like. Especially when they try to do a Richard Ramirez and in a season of American Horror Story. I didn't like that whole situation. Like, don't use real life killers in your storytelling. Make one up, like a Jason Voorhees or a Michael Myers. That would be more set up. That would make me feel easier than you using a real life serial killer because now you up in here creating this whole narrative that's going to piss people off, and rightfully so, which they were when that whole American, that whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing came out. So I get it, but girl, this was not the time that you should have kept that to yourself. You should have took that I wouldn't have brought it up because now look how people looking at you. But look, if you were to actually have a dinner with Jeffrey Dahmer, you better make sure that food on that plate is actually animal and not human. That's all I got to say on that. So I was going to say, what do you think I think of this story? Do you think it was like, all right, girl, you should have kept that to yourself? Like sometimes it's like, yeah, while I get when you want to be personable and you want to say certain things, and I get it because, like I said, I'm fascinated by serial killers and why they do what they do. Look, Marilyn Manson's out here collecting artwork from serial killers, and people went on him about that. So everybody's got their vices, but look, if you're gonna put it out there, people got a right to criticize it. But I get it, sis. But you should have kept that to yourself. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below.